Welcome to the Bridge, the most expressive worship church on the South Shore. Some of you are shaking your head no. I don't know why you'd be shaking your head no. If then you should probably find someplace else. Just saying. All right. Also want to say hello to everybody joining. Are we on? I don't know if we're on. We're on. Good. Good to have you with us. Great to have you connecting with us. If you have a Bible app, turn to Matthew 14. We're gonna flip back and forth between Matthew 14 and Mark 6. We are in between sermon series right now. We just concluded our series Wise Up on Proverbs. I thought that was a great series, a challenging series. Was anybody else challenged during that series? Come on, I was. Our next sermon series, are you ready for this? Our next sermon series starts January 2026. Crazy, right? It is called Created to Connect. And we'll be going through our vision statement and how that ties into what God wants our church to be. Until then, you're going to get what we love to call some one-offs. Some will be holiday themed, some won't. Today, I am going to focus on themes of gratitude and themes of Thanksgiving as we enter into the Thanksgiving season. Everybody loves Thanksgiving, am I right? I'll also tell you, I'm going to try to keep this as lighthearted and quirky as I can today. I'm going to try, all right? Lots of people would say Thanksgiving is their favorite holiday of the year. Mine's Christmas. I love Christmas. But I think in America, especially if you give Americans an excuse to overeat, we will take it, right? I know I will. We love being around family, being around our kids and our grandkids. Of course, for Tori and I, that's much more of a challenge these days. Our kids, our grandkids, my whole family all lives in Tennessee, so connecting for the holidays can be difficult. And it reminds me of a story of a man in Chicago who calls his son in New York the day before Thanksgiving. And when his son picks up, he says, "Son, I don't mean to ruin your day, but after 45 years, me and your mom, we're getting a divorce." He says, "I'm 45 years, I'm sick and tired of it, I can't take it anymore, we're getting a divorce." The son says, "Dad, you and Mom can't get a divorce." He goes, "I'm tired of it all, and I'm tired of talking about this, so just call your sister in Dallas and let her know." And he hangs up the phone. Well, the son is beside himself, calls his sister in Dallas, says, "You're not going to believe it. Dad just called me and said Mom and him, they're going to get a divorce." And the daughter says, "No, that's ridiculous. I can't believe he would say, I'm going to call him right now. I'll call you right back." And she hangs up on the brother. She calls her father in Chicago, and she says, "Dad, I just heard from my brother. He says you and Mom are going to get a divorce. That's ridiculous. You are not. Don't you do anything. My brother and I were getting on a plane. We will be there tomorrow. Don't do anything until we get there." And she hangs up the phone. Well, father hangs up the phone, turns to his wife and says, "Honey, they're coming for Thanksgiving. And they're paying their own way." There you go. That's all you're getting today, so hopefully you enjoyed that. Anyway, today I am going to preach a message that has been brewing for a number of years. I actually started putting it together in 2020 for COVID Thanksgiving, but the Lord took the holiday season a different direction, and so I shelved it. And as I was praying about today, the Lord brought me back to this concept. The message today is called, "Who Stole My Thanksgiving?" Who stole my Thanksgiving? Well, we know the Grinch stole Christmas, right? But who stole Thanksgiving? Here's my thought. It's easy to be thankful on Thanksgiving Day. When you're eating that great meal, hanging out with your family, watching the games on TV, it's easy to be grateful. And you can usually keep that attitude through the weekend, right? Most everybody chills out through the weekend, and you don't get back into the swing of things until Monday. But when Monday after Thanksgiving comes around, you get back into the swing of things, you go back to facing your issues, you go back to facing your problems, you get thrown back into the storm, and it feels like someone stole your Thanksgiving. Can anybody relate? Okay, a few of you can. The Bible, however, is very clear. The Bible tells us that we should live in a constant state of gratitude, a constant state of thanksgiving. Here's what it says in Colossians chapter 2, verse 6 and 7. You stay in Matthew. I'm going to just read this real quick. Colossians 2, verse 6 and 7. The Apostle Paul writes, "Therefore, as you received Christ Jesus the Lord, so walk in him, rooted and built up in him, and established in the faith, just as you were taught, abounding in thanksgiving." Paul telling us there not to just simply be thankful on a particular day, not to just be thankful in a particular circumstance, but to abound in thanksgiving. What does it mean to abound in thanksgiving? The Greek word that's used here, remember that Paul, when he wrote this, he wrote it in Greek. We translate it into English. The Greek word that he used here is the Greek word perisio. I think I pronounced it right. I don't know if I did or not. It's the only kid in Bible college to fail Greek pronunciation. Anyway, it means over and above, to increase, to possess in full sufficiency. And it's also used in the New Testament to describe having more than enough. So you should have gratitude leftovers. Thanksgiving leftovers. Of course, the best part of Thanksgiving is the leftovers. Am I right? Come on, many people love leftovers more than they like the actual meal. Anybody in that camp? Yeah. So leftovers, pretty important for Thanksgiving. And scripturally speaking, leftovers are pretty important as well. And we're going to see that in the story that we're going to read today, Matthew chapter 14. Hopefully you're all there. We're going to start in verse 13. You can start in verse 13. It's a story you know very well. It's the story of Jesus feeding the 5,000. You'll see it there, right? And Jesus presented with this problem, this huge issue. There are 5,000 hungry people on a hillside, and he's got 5 loaves and 2 fish. And Jesus takes the opportunity. I say this every time I preach out of this passage. Matt's probably getting tired of me saying it. Jesus takes the opportunity to teach the disciples kingdom math. 5 plus 2 equals 5,000. I probably should get a new illustration, shouldn't I, Matt? So Jesus performs this amazing miracle. He meets an enormous need with virtually no resources. Ever feel like that in your life? You've got a need but no resources? There's another sermon I preached before that would say that means you're in the miracle zone, when your resources are less than your need. Many of you would say that's the depression zone, but it's not. It's the miracle zone, okay? And so Jesus does this great miracle, and they feast. It's first century Thanksgiving with 5,000 of your closest friends. Now, as cool as that is, I want to pick up the story in verse 20. And I've preached out of this before, but I'm going to take it a little different direction. As they have eaten of this miracle food, here's what happens next, verse 20. They all ate and were satisfied. That's like, what's it called when you eat Thanksgiving and you feel fuller than normal? There's something, stuffed, yeah, but there's a scientific term for it. I can't remember. Anyway, they all ate and were satisfied, and they took up 12 baskets full of the broken pieces left over. They had leftovers. It really is just like Thanksgiving in the first century. Come on. And on top of that, guess what Greek word is used there for leftover? Perisio. They were abounding in loaves and fishes. They were abounding in the miracle of Jesus. But guess what? Someone is going to steal the disciples' Thanksgiving. They're not even going to make it to Monday. Now watch what happens. I want you to flip over to the Gospel of Mark real quick. Just flip over Mark chapter 6. Now this is the same story, okay? It's written virtually word for word in both Gospels, but there's just a couple of little differences and that Mark lays out, and so I like to read it out of Mark. But we're going to pick it up right in the same spot, okay, of the story. It's verse 44, and it says, those who ate the loaves were 5,000 men. Immediately, everybody say immediately. Immediately, he made his disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side to Bethsaida while he dismissed the crowd. After he had taken leave of them, he went up to the mountain to pray. When evening came, the boat was out in the sea, and he was alone on the land. And he saw that they were making headway painfully, for the wind was against them. And about the fourth watch of the night, he came to them walking on the sea. He meant to pass them by, but when they saw him walking on the sea, they thought it was a ghost and cried out, for they all saw him and were terrified. Uh-oh. What happened to Thanksgiving? Someone stole the disciples' Thanksgiving. Everything was awesome. They were hanging out on a hillside, eating miracle fish and loaves, watching the game on, no, they probably weren't watching the game on TV. They didn't have their device to, scroll through anything or nothing like that. But you get the picture. They had Thanksgiving. It was awesome. All this miracle going on. Easy to be grateful, easy to be thankful. And now a storm. Jesus solves one problem, praise the Lord, and then throws them into a whole nother problem. Dear Lord. I thought that was funny, and you didn't even laugh. Man, I worked on my delivery of that all week. Before things I think are funny, you don't usually think are funny. The things that I don't even think are funny, you guys start laughing about. Usually it's the ball jokes that get you to laugh. Now, before I get into what I want to talk about, I want you to notice something, an important lesson. This is for free, not part of the message, but it's important. It says Jesus immediately made the disciples get into the boat, right? So think about that. They feed 5,000 people. There's a buzz in the air. I mean, the feeling on that hillside had to be incredible, right? I mean, my gosh, just pandemonium. People you've just witnessed one of the most incredible events in human history, and the disciples were a part of it. They feast. I mean, come on, happy Thanksgiving, right? When something like that happens, I think our temptation is to just bask in the afterglow for a while. You know what I mean? I mean, let's park right here for a little bit, Jesus. Hang out. Enjoy this. I mean, they're probably chanting his name, chanting the disciples. It's like going to a football game, probably. They're probably excited. Let's not be too quick to leave. But Jesus says, no, get in the boat. Immediately. If I was preaching this, I'm not preaching this. This is for free, remember. That would be the first point. It would be, get in the boat. One of the best lessons you can learn is to never park by yesterday's victories or yesterday's defeats. The temptation for the disciples to stay right there, hang out, enjoy the moment had to be great. But Jesus knew what was coming for these guys later. He knew that believing and being grateful for fish and loaves, feeding 5,000, that was small potatoes compared to what they were going to have to believe for in the future. These guys were some of them are going to be martyrs. They're going to take the gospel around. They're going to be in prison. They're going to have to believe for much more. And if they stayed here in this spot, they might just miss it. It's putting into practice a verse, a scripture passage that we read all the time, Isaiah 43, verse 18 and 19. Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I'm doing a new thing. It's like Timon and Pumbaa, right? Keep your behind in your past. Don't dwell on past success or past failure for too long. You got to be willing to get in the boat. I think past success is harder to move on from than past failure. I think many times we're like, well, failure, let's move on. But if you've had success, hard to move on from that many times. So get in the boat. Be willing to get in the boat. Leave the past behind. And then Jesus, now back to the real message again. Jesus sends them off into this storm. Gets them into the boat immediately. Doesn't let them enjoy the moment. But then what happens? Jesus goes up to a mountain and prays while the disciples face wind and wave and storm in the boat. Isn't that just peachy? It says in verse 47, the wind was against them. And it seems as though Jesus is nowhere to be found. Ever felt like that before? You're facing your storm, you're facing your wind and waves, and it's like, where's the Lord? Probably up on some hill somewhere praying. When he should be here with me in my boat. No one else has ever felt like that before, just me? Come on. Where are you, Jesus? But here's the first thing I want you to consider today. Focusing on the wrong thing will steal your thanksgiving. Your focus will determine your thanksgiving. If you feel like someone has stolen your thanksgiving, ask yourself, what are you focused on? Your focus will determine your gratitude. If you focus on the storm, if you focus on the waves, if you focus on the wind, you won't be thankful. You won't abound in thanksgiving. You won't have gratitude leftovers. The only way to walk in that abounding thanks that Paul was talking about, that we read about, and have perisio of gratitude, is to be careful what you focus on. Your focus will determine your thanks. Your focus will determine your gratitude. Your focus will determine your attitude. Your focus will determine your reality. You can keep going with it. Your focus will determine your joy. It'll determine your peace. It'll determine your hope. I could just keep going with that. You focus on the wrong things, come Monday morning, it's going to feel like someone stole your Thanksgiving. And here's the thing. Most of what I'm about to say, everything that comes after this for the next 15 minutes or so, it's if you're paying attention. If you don't pay attention, I'm going to go another 45 minutes. So just all of it comes back to that point. Put that back up there for me, Pastor Joe. Almost everything I'm going to say comes back to this. Your focus will determine whether your Thanksgiving gets stolen or not. If you're focused on the problems of your life, if you're focused on the issues of your life, whatever they are, they will steal your Thanksgiving. And they'll steal your joy, they'll steal your peace, they'll steal your hope, they'll steal your love, they'll steal your livelihood. Fear will steal your Thanksgiving. Some of you are focused on fear. You're focused on how afraid you are of failure. You're focused on how afraid you are. You might look stupid if you jump around with Pastor Dave. You're focused on how afraid you are of the future, or whatever it might be. Look at the disciples, okay? It tells us outright what they were fearing, but you could tell that fear was kind of leaking over. I mean, we could sink out here. We could die out here. We could be shipwrecked. And then they see Jesus and they're even more terrified. Oh, well, this is all this stuff's happening. That can't be Jesus. It must be a ghost. Some of you live in fear. And because of that, you're not living in abounding thanks. Fear will steal your thanksgiving. Here's another one, expectations. Pastor Heather prayed about this just a few moments ago. Your expectations, your unmet expectations, will steal your thanksgiving. Listen, always check your expectations. Because listen, if you have the wrong expectations, and those wrong expectations are not met, trust me, you won't have any gratitude leftovers. Don't focus on your unmet expectations, whether they're expectations regarding a circumstance or with people, in your marriage. Come on. I have a whole sermon about this, okay? And when I do marriage counseling, this is like the first thing we talk about. It's expectations. Don't let expectations of your church. Don't be focused on your unmet expectations there. Unmet expectations by your pastor. That should have gotten an amen. Come on. You're like, oh, we're going to hold you to our expectations, Pastor Dave. You get no grace. The wrong expectations will steal your thanksgiving. I think many times church people, good followers of Jesus, we fall in the trap of having the wrong expectations, being focused on our expectations. We think we know how God's going to move. We think we know what it's going to look like. We think we know what it's going to feel like. We got the picture in our head. We know what it smells like. We know what it sounds like. We know all those things. We know how God should solve our problems. We know how he should help us out in our situation. And when those expectations are not met, we think, well, God must be up mountain somewhere praying. Where's he at? Right? He ain't here with me in the boat, because if he was, he'd be doing it this way. There's a ton more. I could go over a bunch more. I don't have time for them all, so we put together a little collage. Put that up there. Here we go. A whole bunch of things that could steal your Thanksgiving. If yours isn't up there, don't think you're off the hook. We can only fit so many. Fatigue. There's one. Fatigue. If you're focused on how tired you are, it'll steal your Thanksgiving. It will, right? I don't know about you, but I think I notice myself doing this sometimes a lot. Maybe half the time. You go up to somebody and say, hey, how you doing? They go, oh, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm tired, but you ever notice that? Where people come to you and you're like, oh, I'm tired, man. Things are going good, but I'm just a little tired. If you're so tired, take a nap, right? Don't be focused on, if you're focused on how tired you are, it'll steal your Thanksgiving. Oh, here's another good one up there. Complaining. Any complainers in the group? Oh, few heathens. Lying will steal your salvation. Let's just talk about that. Okay? Complaining. Suffice it to say, if you're always focused on what you don't like, it will steal your Thanksgiving. If you're always focused on what you can complain about, it will steal your Thanksgiving. I mean, come on. It would have been nice for Jesus to send out some invites to that prayer meeting, am I right? I mean, he just went by himself. I can picture the disciples, in that boat with Thomas going, yeah, I'd like to go up and pray on some mountain. I just worked really hard feeding those people. Would have been nice. I could use a prayer meeting right now, Jesus. Or better yet, would be pretty cool if you were down here helping us. That'd be good too. Not to complain. Is this one up there? It must be, right? Let me see. Lack. That's it. There it is. Lack. We just got done talking a lot about this in the last sermon series. Poverty mentality. If you're focused on what you don't have, it will steal your Thanksgiving. If you're always focused on how much money you don't have enough of, or love, patience, health, whatever it is you don't have enough of, trust me, it'll steal your Thanksgiving and you won't have any gratitude leftovers. Again, I could just keep going, and you should just plug in. What yours isn't up there, just plug yours in, because just because I didn't talk about it doesn't mean you're off the hook. But I want to finish reading the story. Is everybody doing okay? Okay, good. I want to finish reading this story because the real moment happens as the story wraps up. Let's go back. I'll start again at verse 49. It says, when they saw him walking on the sea, they thought it was a ghost and cried out. For they all saw him and were terrified. But immediately he spoke to them, take heart, do not be afraid. And he got in the boat with them, and the wind ceased. They were utterly astounded. Okay, so get a picture of this. They're freaking out, right? Wind, rain, storm, oh my gosh, ghost coming. And here comes Jesus, right? And he gets into the boat. First of all, remember, he saw them. Remember that. Okay, he's up on the mountain. He could see them. You always keep that in the back of your mind, okay? But all that stuff's happening. Now, I don't know what kind of boat it is. If there's like a door in a first century boat, or has he got a step? I don't know that. But basically what happens is he gets in the boat and the storm stops. That's at least how I envision it. Okay? This isn't like the other story where Jesus is in the bottom of the boat sleeping, right? And the storm is coming, and then he comes up and says, peace, be still, right? And the storm and the wind stops. Here, he doesn't curse the wind. He doesn't pray that it would stop. He doesn't command the wind to stop. He just gets in the boat and this storm is not the devil. It's not opposition. It's not an attack. I think many of us, if we had been in that boat, our attitude would have been, oh, devil's coming after me. Look at all these winds and waves. I'm under attack, Pastor Dave. Sometimes we give the enemy too much credit. You see, this storm, it's not a storm. It's not opposition. It's a controlled environment. Yes, it's a trial. Yes, it's a test. Yes, it's a learning experience. Yes, it's difficult. But Jesus was in control the entire time. He held their destiny in the palm of his hand. He's good. He had their best interest at heart. Remember, he was watching them. They didn't have anything to fear because Jesus was in control the entire time. But what was the purpose of all of it? Well, let's read the next verse. Verse 51 again. He said, he got in the boat with them. The wind ceased. They were utterly astounded. Verse 52, for they did not understand about the loaves. Their hearts were hardened. So their hearts are hardened, and because of that, their thanksgiving got stolen. They forgot about the loaves. But they didn't need to forget about the loaves, did they? Why? They had leftovers. Do you remember? They were abounding in loaves and fishes. What about the leftovers? The leftovers were there to remind them. But they forgot about the leftovers. They were abounding in fish and loaves. Reminders that this Jesus guy was a miracle worker. That this Jesus guy could do the impossible. The leftovers should have given them abounding thanks in their own life. They should have had Thanksgiving leftovers because they have all this stuff that they put on the boat with them, the leftovers, to go, oh yeah, do you remember that? It was left over from the last situation to help them with the future situation. Think about that for a moment. It's a day or two after Thanksgiving. It's Saturday. You're on your couch. You're bummed. You're like, what am I going to have for lunch? And then you're like, oh yeah, there's mashed potatoes in the fridge. There's stuffing in the fridge. There's green bean casserole. And not that kind of stuff with the cans and I'm talking about real green beans, real mushrooms, real good green bean salad. I don't eat green bean casserole. I don't eat it unless it's that kind. It's all there, and you're like, yes, I got leftovers, and all of a sudden it feels like Thanksgiving again. Anybody with me? Do you get what I'm saying here? You see, that's the abounding thanks that I'm talking about. It gives you gratitude for the next situation, for the next trial. It gives you faith for the next storm. You don't have to have Thanksgiving stolen from you. There's leftovers. I mean, think back to the miracle for a moment. Why would there have even been leftovers? This is Jesus we're talking about. If he had wanted to be exact, he would have been exact, right? I mean, he's the God of creation. It's not like he went, oh, made a little too much. No, this was intentional. He wanted the disciples to understand. He wanted them to see the leftovers and remember. You see, many times we're afraid. We doubt, we lose hope, we get discouraged, and we allow our Thanksgiving to be stolen when there are remnants, fragments of previous miracles all around us. The disciples forgot about the loaves. They hadn't learned anything. Listen to me. Don't forget about the loaves. Remember the leftovers. Listen, there are times I find myself losing faith. Just being honest. There are times I feel I'm getting overcome by the storm. Anybody with me? Am I the only heathen? Right? I feel like I'm getting overcome. And things are just, they're just going all crazy on me. But there are remnants, fragments of previous miracles all around me, and that helps me abound in thanksgiving. It helps me have abounding faith. Listen, I'm believing for some pretty major stuff right now. I got impossibilities that I am believing for. And there's times I go, oh God, have you got me out on this boat all by myself? Or where are you? Probably on some mountain somewhere. And then I spend about a half hour on social media in the morning. And so I'll be flipping through, looking at stuff, and all of a sudden I'll see the pastor that replaced me in Arizona. And he posts a picture of some work they're doing on the building. And then I'll remember, God gave me that building. We started the church a year and a half later. Building just got signed over to me. No cash exchanged, no debt, nothing. Here you go. Have a building. Then that makes me remember, you know what? First I go, oh, I've been given a building. But you know what? That's shortchanging it. I got more leftovers than that. I've been given 2 buildings. You should all remember that we were given Carver. Do you remember that? Right? Just signed over. No cash exchanged. No debt. Just here you go, Bridge. It's your building now. Our balance sheet went from about $600,000 to $1.5 million overnight. I would dance over that. Woo, that's awesome. So you know what? When I'm sitting here and I feel overwhelmed and I look out there and I go, you know what? I'm believing for that building. That's not so far-fetched. I have been given buildings before. So to believe that God would give me that building is not so far-fetched. I got remnants all over the place. To believe that God could do something amazing in Middleborough, that place could just explode, that's not so far-fetched. I have remnants all around me. I don't know if you're getting this or not. Here's the deal. It goes back to your focus. What are you focused on? Are you focused on your need? Are you focused on your problem? Are you focused on the storm? If you are, someone will steal your Thanksgiving. Or are you focused on Jesus, the miracle worker? Because when you're focused on Jesus, you will abound in thanks. You'll have gratitude leftovers. And I don't know about you, but I don't ever want my heart to get hardened like it says the disciples' hearts were hardened in that verse. I don't ever want that. What does that mean? It means they were blind. They couldn't see what God was doing. They couldn't fathom what was happening because they were so focused on all the problems around them, so focused on what they could complain about and what they were fearful of that they almost missed Jesus going right by. Lord, never let my heart be hardened. So what should your takeaway be today? Ask yourself, where's your focus? As we enter into the holiday season, Thanksgiving right around the corner, don't let your trials, don't let your tribulations, don't let your problems, don't let your health situations, don't let your financial situations, don't let them steal your Thanksgiving. And this applies across the board, like I've been saying. Don't let those things steal your joy. Don't let them steal your hope. Don't let them steal your peace. Focus on the right thing. Focus on Jesus. There are leftovers all around you. Listen, if you can't see them, I'll come out and remind you because I know I've seen what God's done in your life. That's why when I say, has God done anything good for you? I already know because I've heard you talk. I've seen your Facebook posts. And I know your stories. Here's what Paul said in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. I'm going to read it out of the NLT. You're going to see it up there in the NIV. Here's what it says. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. Let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. Verse 2. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus. He didn't even have to mic drop for the Apostle Paul, right? That's how we do it. You keep your eyes on Jesus. It sounds all very theological. It sounds all very, oh my gosh, how am I going to understand this? And the Apostle Paul cuts through it all. Just keep your eyes on Jesus. And that solves it. So as we end our time together, let's make sure we're focused on the right things. I want us to take communion together. Because the way to focus on the right stuff is to remember what Jesus did. If you were to keep reading that, it's about Christ and him crucified. It's what he did on the cross. Actually, let me keep reading that. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. Because of the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross, disregarding its shame. And now he's seated in the place of honor beside God's throne. It's because of what Jesus did on the cross that we don't have to fear the storm. It's because of what Jesus did on the cross that we don't have to fear the wind and the waves. We don't have to fear those things. We don't have to have our Thanksgiving be stolen. So I'm going to ask the worship team if they would come back up. You guys know me, I always take an opportunity to get you up to the front. Let me serve the worship team real quick first. Oh, thank you. Did you get one, Matt? So, the other thing, I believe, Pastor Heather and I are of the opinion we should use really good bread. So I found this place in Plymouth. If you haven't been there, you should go, called Hearth. Anybody been there? Oh my goodness gracious. So you're getting the real deal today. All right. Go ahead and start that, Matt. We sing the first verse of this song. If you want some of Jesus, come up, get some Jesus, and stay up here with us as we sing the song, and then I'll lead us through. Stay up here if you would. Stay up.